This is JoyNews Desk with me, Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson. The next hour, 2 persons sustained gunshot wounds during a chieftaincy dispute in Kokodie community in the Ashanti region. We have details. In our climate focus series today, Ghana Meteorological Agency financially challenged in providing accurate location-specific weather forecasting. We tell you how the situation is affecting their operations. Also, Gabon records 8 coups in 3 years, with the latest taking place early this dawn, leaving the country in a bit of a disarray. We have the latest. Stay with us for details, including a crossover tour down where President Kokodie is expected to launch official operations of Electrochem Ghana. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now let's start from in the Ashanti region, where 2 residents of Kokodie community in the Ashanti region sustained gunshot wounds in a chieftaincy dispute in the area. The nomination of Nana Jiman as the new chief of the community is being resisted, leading to a clash of 2 members of the royal families. Now, the nominated chief, in an ensuing confrontation, allegedly fired gunshots, hitting 2 residents who are currently on admission at the Kokodie Teaching Hospital. Nana Boachi Yadom has the rest of the story.
Residents of Kokodie say they are living in fear following the firing of arms while protesting the nomination of Nana Jiman as chief of the town. A section of the community were opposing the nomination of the chief, claiming he does not belong to the rightful clan. 2 persons were hit by gunshots allegedly fired by the chief in an ensuing conflict.
The nominated chief came with a gun. He fired the gun at the beginning. While we tried to take a shot of the action, he pointed the gun at us. He went to the Roman Catholic Church and started firing some of the protesters.
So imagine escaping into your home while being chased with a gun. These are bullet holes after the display of gunshots.
Yes, if you can manage me bad fear.
When we got down from the car, we heard gunshots from the aggrieved nominated chief. When we came across him, he threatened to shoot us.
Opinion Kofi Nkrumah witnessed the incident which led to the disturbances in the community.
The nominated chief broke into my house with a hammer. He took the stool from the room we kept it.
Medical Superintendent at the Continental Government Hospital, Dr. Harrison Ankra Tumesi, says the 2 injured have been referred to the Kokodie Teaching Hospital, considering the nature of injuries.
A girl and then a boy, a young girl who came in with a complaint of having been shot, and then we examined her. She has something that which looks like an entry wound to the back. We took x-rays. I saw something that looks like a pellet in there, but she was fairly stable. So we admitted her and stabilized her for the night. And then this morning she's been referred to Kokodie to see the cardiothoracic surgeon, probably, for them to explore whether they will remove what looks like a pellet or whatever.
So, for them, the stool here belongs to their forefathers. They should be ordinarily custodians of the land. But as it stands, they own nothing in this community. They are pleading with the Asante to come to their aid. Reporting for JoyNews, my name is Nana Boache Dankwa-Yadom, Kumasi.
Now, senior military officers in Gabon say they have seized power shortly after President Bongo's re-election was announced. 12 soldiers appeared on national television saying they were annulling the results of Saturday's poll. The Electoral Commission had given Bongo 64.27% of the vote, with his main challenger, Albert Ondo Osa, taking 30.77%. The officers also said they were dissolving all state institutions and that the country's borders were shut. If confirmed, Bongo's overthrow would end his family's 56-year-old on power in Gabon. This would be the 8th coup in former French colonies in Africa in the past 3 years. How are nationals dealing with the crisis currently? Osman Louie works in the civil society space in Gabon and joins us live with more. Well, we understand we don't have him on the lines as at yet, but we'll go to him as and when we get him. But let's stay a bit longer on it and speak to Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired, who consults for the African Union and joins us with more. Colonel Festus, to what extent should we be worried about the rampant cases of coup on the continent?
Well, thanks for having me. We should not be worried, ordinarily speaking. If you're having a season of coups, as a colleague of mine puts it, then you are like in a cocoa season where the ground is very fertile for your cocoa to produce. In other words, these coups are happening as a symptom of things that have gone wrong seriously with governance in Africa. As you mentioned, one family of 2 individuals forming the dynasty have ruled this country for about 56, 57 years. Only 6 years out of Gabon's independence were not ruled by the Bongos. Now, how did they manage to do this? That's the question we need to ask. Now, the old Bongo, as we know, ruled for 41 years. From 1967, in 2009, he changed the constitution, abolished the term limits, and then continued running until he died of cardiac arrest or whatever. Now his son takes over. He suffered stroke. He still remains in office. And then he's going for a 3rd term. Now, if what we are hearing is right, he did not get 64%. He got about 33%. And the Electoral Commissioner, or the head of the Constitutional Court, then doctored the figures and gave him 64%. Now, that is what we are saying is wrong. Because the only way that you can access power in a democracy is through elections. And the elections must be free, they must be fair, they must be transparent. If they are not, then you are creating conditions for coups to happen. And indeed, I'm hearing that he's flown out of the country in 4 aircraft. He is gone somewhere, is it Brussels? The Constitutional Court leader has gone to Morocco. Why are they running away? If indeed the elections were free, fair, transparent. So it's a warning to all of us who pride ourselves in election manipulations and rigging only to stay in power. We must go to elections feeling confident that the outcomes will reflect the will of the people. And I think the recent spate of coups, where they are connected with elections, whether in Guinea, for instance, or in Gabon in this case, it's a lesson for all of us. I'm even told, for those who are saying that Bazoum won 55%, that technically Bazoum didn't win 55%. But somebody re-engineered the election outcomes and got him to win 55. So we all need to be careful. about this election manipulations, that is becoming so rampant in what we call democracies.
Right. Colonel, I mean, indeed, as in you saying that are you trying to tell us that this gave them little or no chance, to organize a coup in this circumstance?
No, what I'm trying to suggest is that when you capture the state, its institutions, to the extent that you don't allow sufficient room for political party pluralism, then you are sowing the seeds for a coup. It cannot be that in a democracy that started with a constitution which prescribed 7-year terms for 2 terms, you abolish that and then manipulate the institutions to continue to rule for 41 years. And then after your death, your son takes over. And between 2 individuals from one family, what political scientists call a dynasty, you rule one country for 56, 57 years. That is not a democracy. And that is what the concern is, that what we are calling democracy in Africa must be based on the principles that those who brought democracy to us, abide by. If we are not doing that, then we're creating the conditions for more coups to happen. Of course, election manipulation is only one of the factors. Misgovernance, for instance, not respecting human rights, abusing human rights, throwing people in jail, suppressing the opposition, causing them to flee, and so on and so forth. These are all factors that, contribute to coups.
All right. And before you go, you consult with the AU. How is the AU responding to these crises ongoing on the African continent?
Well, the last time we heard the AU was on the 14th of August, when the PSC, Peace and Security Council, pronounced itself on the coup in Niger and supported the ECOWAS decisions on imposing sanctions and so on, but fell short of supporting the ECOWAS idea of an intervention in Niger. And I've been pointing out that the AU decision not to 100% support the ECOWAS decision means that ECOWAS is lacking political support. And that decision is not very popular within the continent. Because the PSC decision was arrived at because 4 out of the 5 political regions of Africa were not in favor of the ECOWAS decision to use force to unseat the CNSP in Niger. In that AU communique, some of us are pointing out to the African Union that both the AU and the ECOWAS are being inconsistent, because in 2013, the African Union is on record as agreeing for the Central African Republic to go through a 3 or so year transition. Now, why do you allow one country on the continent to go through a transition, and then you turn to another country in Africa and you say, we cannot allow you to go through transition? All of that does not even address the idea of civilian unconstitutionality. We should use this Gabon case to highlight the idea that civilians are themselves unconstitutional. It's not only the military, and we must look at the 2 sides of the debate all the time, so that civilians don't think that they are beyond reproach, they are not accountable to anybody, and that they can rule their respective countries the way they want. That is not going to happen, and we are seeing the signs. Indeed, going by what is going on, it's likely that we're going to have more coups. So you and I know that African countries are not being governed, the way that democracy should be governed. And that is where the concern must be. We should not worry about the soldiers. We should worry about the civilians who abuse power. And once we address the abuse of power on the part of civilian leaders, coups probably will be a thing of the past. Until then, I'm afraid that is not going to be the case.
Right. We're grateful for your time. Colonel Festus Abuaje retired. He consults with the AU and also a security analyst. Well, let's go to Gabon, where we're joined by an individual, and for the sake of anonymity, we'll name him as Osman Louie, and he's joining us via Zoom. Osman, many thanks for your time here on News Desk. How safe are you in your current location as we speak? Kindly unmute and speak to us. Well, we'll get back to Osman, but security analyst Professor Kwesi Enin has also been speaking on this particular subject.
Really point out where the next one is going to come from. There is a reluctance by us as Africans to call a spade a spade. When you have forms of governance that are corrupt, competent, that seeks to basically just hang on to power, you create the fundamentals or the foundation for these changes to take place. Gabon is a very interesting 56 years in power by the same family, a president who was so disastrously sick and unwell that he could barely walk. Okay, so even if in Gabon, his own political elites could not force him to resign, because in almost all constitutions, when you are fiscally incapable of delivering on your mandate, you have to step aside. Okay, but one also expects the African Union to have sent a delegation of leaders. Now look, our dear brother, maybe for the sake of your people, stand aside. Okay, sovereignty is important, but sovereignty must be responsible. We cannot use the sovereignty debate by our heads of states to say, hey, well, Gabon is a sovereign state, so we cannot go in to talk. That was the essence of the African peer review mechanism, in which our peers would be able to advise, to nudge, to encourage, so that leaders would do what is right. That seems to have fallen in our abeyance.
The expectation was that mechanism would at least help to bring some standards onto the continent by telling ourselves what we want and how we want to approach our democracy. But what we have, and that's the criticism from some, is that we're just diluting the standards. We're not telling each other as we should.
No, we are not too good at telling each other what we should. I mean, what we are seeing is a sort of a heads of states club that makes the rules and the regulations, but the rules and the regulations do not concern them. So I'm right now at the meeting on silencing the guns, which is an African Union initiative that has been established since 2013. And the deadline keeps on being pushed and pushed and pushed, because those who are signatory to that document themselves do not believe in it. So the peer review mechanism that ought to have brought leaders to check on each other simply does not work again. So I can read about 5 countries that are on the verge of even deeper political and military upheavals, but our leaders are just silent. Okay? The union is silent. And when you have those who govern in their 70s and 80s, ruling very young people who feel excluded, who have lost hope, who do not see any opportunities for improving their livelihoods, then the military option, which is very unfortunate, becomes the only option that is available. Let us be fair enough to ourselves and to say, time is up. We cannot deliver. It's time for us to leave, so we can bring these coup d'etats to an end. Otherwise, the continent is going to face yet another decade of military coups, of counter coups, and of more violence, leading to underdevelopment.
Before we go, let's take a look at some coup cases on the African continent and their status as of now. So in Africa, if you look at the map that we have right now, we have 10 coups that have happened, successful coups. Those are those in the red. And attempted coups are 9. This signifies that just one has been unsuccessful. Just one. But 9 out of 10, 9 attempted coups, we have 10 successful coups between 2020 and 2023. In West Africa, we've had 6 coups. In Central Africa, 2. And in North America, 2. So we have West Africa, 6 coups, as in successful coups in West Africa. And in Central Africa, we've had 2 successful coups. And in North Africa, 2 successful coups between 2020 and 2023. Now on your screen, we have countries and the dates in which these coups took place. And so in Gabon on August 23, that is what we're currently talking about. In Niger, which was recently July 23rd, we have Burkina Faso in September 2022, Burkina Faso again in January 2022, in Sudan in October 2021, Guinea September 2021, Tunisia in July 2021, Mali May 2021, Chad April 2021, and Mali again in August 2020. Now, moving on, residents in 3 communities in the Adansi North District of the Ashanti Region have staged a demonstration against a local quarry mining company for allegedly causing damage to their property and exposing them to health risks. Now, clad in red and black, the residents of Patakro, Kwapia, and we also are prevailing on the Environmental Protection Agency and the local assembly to call Akos Jomo Quarry Company to order. There's more in the following report.
Residents of the 3 communities affected by the operations of the quarry company poured onto the streets to express their anger at the adverse impact of the quarry mine on their livelihoods. Spokesperson Kwame Jesse alleged the company's operations has led to the destruction of farms, buildings and other household equipment in Kwapia, Patakro and Rioso without receiving compensation. He says the company has also failed to engage the communities on the environmental and health impact of the quarry on residents.
Payment of crop compensation. The quarry company, Akos Jomo, is said to destroy the people of Papia and its neighborhood communities, crops and land. And as we speak now, the people has not been compensated. 2. No proper arrangement and talks with the community. The said company, Akos Jomo, has already started operation for years now, and as we speak, they have not been proper talks with the community as a whole and the tradition leaders as well as district reps. Improper processing procedure, that is blasting of chipping, due to inappropriate processing method of blasting, it disturbs the people and also destroys properties.
A resident and victim of the quarry operation, Reverend Charles Atapa, who has worked on a mine for close to 20 years, says the quarry firm is failing to heed to standard operations. He has called on the Environmental Protection Agency to intervene.
There's a problem we are facing now. The assemblyman, the honorable assemblyman, who is to be there so that we can solve our problem, is employed in the company. He's the PR. So when you go with your problem, it's so to be okay. I've been there several times, and up to now, there is no any response. So we are begging the agencies through the media that they should come and then assist us. If not, to be a problem.
Other aggrieved residents shared similar concerns.
I know some quarry firm who relocate residents and compensate them afterwards. But this is not the same with this firm. Our properties are getting damaged due to their activities.
About 4 months ago, my electrical appliances have become faulty. Last week, my building almost collapsed after the blast. It even threw my daughter out of the house.
Managers of the Akojomo Quarry Company are yet to respond to the concerns of the residents. For JoyNews, Mona Lisa Frimpon reporting.
The absence of location-specific forecasting daily weather updates has been a concern to many Ghanaians, but the Ghana Meteorological Agency says this is possible with the availability of about 4 radar systems, 120 automated weather stations, 350 agro-meteorological stations, and 600 gauges spread across the country. By integrating radar and satellite data, the resultant weather forecasts are poised to be highly dependable, offering valuable insights to facilitate informed decision-making. On climate focus, Mohammed Nuruddin highlights the financial shortfalls impeding the operations of GMET.
The Ghana Meteorological Agency, GMET, is responsible for monitoring meteorological conditions within the flight information region overseen by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. This involves providing regular updates and alerts about impending weather changes.
Go to all the airports in Ghana, you have Met stations or Met officers there who provide information. If you sit on aircraft, the information you get when the pilot is speaking to you is how the weather is going to be, what the turbulence you are going to experience during the flight, and the temperatures and the place you are landing, how the weather is. All that information comes from the Met institutions. So in Ghana, Ghana Meteorological Agency is the institution which is mandated to provide aeronautical meteorological services for aviation. And research shows that the information that the aircraft needs to navigate, about 60% is meteorological. And so we provide this information through the air controllers to the pilots for their navigation. Enemy of the aircraft is the weather.
Despite the crucial provision of these services, there exists an outstanding financial Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the Ghana Airport Company Limited. Acting Director General of GMET, Eric Esuman, says this monetary deficit presents a substantial obstacle to adequately financing the agency's ongoing operations.
It used to be an MOU that we had between them, but in 2019, through our minister, our act was amended and gave specific receivables from aviation to Ghana Meteorological Agency, specifically landing, all the flight that lands in Ghana. Airport companies, civil aviation, charge them. And whatever money they charge them, the law says that 10% should be given to Ghana Meteorological Agency. Again, all the flight that flight over our flight zone, the flight that doesn't land in Ghana, they cross Ghana flight information region, they charge them. And the money they charge them, the law says that 10% should be given to Ghana Meteorological Agency. Again, all the tickets that we buy, we pay tax on them, all right, airport tax. And so airport company collect that tax, and the law says that all the taxes that they collect, 5% should be given to Ghana Meteorological Agency. The challenge is the implementation. These organizations are not paying as the Act demands.
GMED offers forecast 3 times a day, as well as weather advisories and warnings whenever significant weather events are detected.
So this is weather forecast for yesterday, right? So this was what was predicted yesterday for yesterday night and then today. So yesterday night we're expecting more of cloudiness and then some slight rain and then drizzle. And then Wednesday also, that is today, we are still expecting mostly cloudy conditions, some misty conditions, as well as more of slight rain and then drizzle. And then can see that more of the thunderstorm activities are concentrated towards the northern sector. So this is the process that we go through before we come out with a forecast. We have the weekly forecast, which is issued on Monday and then is updated on Wednesday, and that is the midweek forecast. And the midweek forecast is also updated for Friday towards the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be the updates over for the midweek forecast. Aside this forecast, also we have what we call the daily forecast that we issue for 3 times a day. That is the 24-hour forecast. We have the morning, afternoon, and evening forecast. So currently we are working on the afternoon forecast and then the evening forecast here in Kafu. The morning forecast, we have the office at airports taking care of the morning forecast for the 24-hour period. So
the Central Analysis and Forecasting Office serves as the hub for collecting and analyzing weather and climate data, which is then disseminated to the public. A majority of researchers are stationed at this office to monitor shift in weather patterns and communicate these changes to the general population. Joe Tete Potofi is the Deputy Director in charge of Synoptic Meteorology and Forecasting.
We have what we call a satellite receiver also that is able to tell us every 15 minutes what is happening in the whole world. So we can scale it down to Ghana. And that one we normally call it it's a meteorological satellite for the European community. But since we belong to the World Meteorological Organization, we also have access to it. These are all the forecasters there. They will print out these ones, they will arrange it, and they will discuss it. Somebody will lead and you will discuss, and out of this we come out with a forecast. There are a lot of products here.
Over the years, some Ghanaians doubt information from this institution.
My challenge is people getting the awareness that these services exist and these services can help us. That's what we have not succeeded in, getting everybody on board. But those who use our services really know that our services have improved, is good, is helpful, is helping them in their businesses. But a lot more people know those services exist. And so a call for a lot more work to sensitize the Ghanaian populace to know that these are the weather and climate services being churned out or generated and produced by Ghana Meteorological Agency, and this is how it's going to help them.
GMED needs about 120 automatic weather stations of synoptic nature to achieve nationwide coverage and deliver forecast tailored to specific locations. With the existing 44 manual and automatic synoptic weather stations, the agency is unable to offer forecasts that are customized to particular locations. According to Mr. Esumai, a weather station should be established within every 5-kilometer radius in an ideal scenario.
For every 5-kilometer radius, ideally, I need a station there. So you can imagine the size of Ghana and then calculate 5-kilometer radius and multiply by the number of stations that I need. It's hundreds and thousands. So we need a lot. We don't have that much. There are the agric stations, the synoptic type of station I spoke about. That one for WMO standard, you can have 20-kilometer radius. So one station can cover 20-kilometer radius, and if you don't have them, you can do 40-kilometer radius.
The agency also needs about 600 rain gauges and 4 radar systems to ensure complete national coverage.
The rain gauges, I need a lot of them. That one, about 600 will be cool for us, because and that's too, I'm getting some few of them. In fact, there's a another project I didn't mention, Garrett project, and Garrett project is also gotten us 2 of the, it's not the type of automatic weather station, which is yet to be installed, already bought, and 18 of the rain gauge rainfall stations. And the type of rainfall station they bought for us, which has even temperature sensors, so it's kind of an enhanced rainfall stations. And radar, we have 1, and we need about 4 to cover the entire country. Garrett project, which is getting us 1 more. FSRP, there's 2 radar proposed there, which hasn't gotten the approval yet. And then in JDEP, there's 1. The radar, you'll be able to identify a very localized storm or system developing, and then be able to analyze it and forecast. Sometimes you can see that you are living in your house, it's not raining. You get to small, just a distance away from your house, it will rain there, it will not rain your house. They call them localized systems that are developed. So it can rain in Medina and it will not rain in Adenta, or rain in Medina and not rain in East Legon. But there are systems that rain that it will pass through the whole country, or the whole section of the country. You say that a system is coming from Nigeria, Benin, Togo, and then is going pass through Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire. Satellite will pick those ones with the system moving, and you can track it. But radar satellite will not pick the one which is developing in a small community, say in Aburi, to be able to analyze and forecast. And so that's why I'm saying they complement each other with the ground information that we have gathered. If you put all these things together, GMET's forecast will be extremely, reliable. People talk about they want location-specific forecasts, where the forecast will be points. With the radar and all this equipment in place, it will enhance our effort to get location-specific forecast, if not even point forecast. A very small radius, about 9 or 5 kilometer radius forecast, with this equipment you'll be able to give.
However, to cater to agricultural needs with specialized agromet weather station types, the agency also requires about 350 such stations.
Yes, but for the agromet type, we need about 350. We have about 50 in the system. And this project are also looking at, we put some proposal there which has been approved to get a lot more of them. I think in the FSRP project we have about 50 requested. And then under GDEP, and GDEP is a Ghana Digital Accelerated Project, and the Ministry of Communication also have, I think, about 35 proposed there. And so we believe very soon for the stations we will have them.
By the end of 2023, GMET aims to have about 61 automatic weather stations in addition to the current 22 manual stations, towards achieving the goal of establishing 120 weather stations nationwide. Their intention to transition towards employing self-recording automatic weather stations in order to enhance the timeliness and precision of data collection. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
For about 5 years now, the Ghana agroecology movement has been advocating for the adoption of natural and environmentally friendly farming methods in the country. However, one major challenge confronting the ordinary Ghanaian farmer is the lack of easy access to seeds, even for some of the indigenous crops. Stakeholders have therefore been meeting in Bogotanga in the Upper East region to discuss the seed system in the country and how some indigenous seeds can be prevented from going extinct. Correspondent Albert Sori reports.
The Ghana agroecology movement includes the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, SICOD, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, and other farmer groups nationwide. The movement has been promoting organic farming and natural farming methods based on applying the interactions between plants, animals, humans, and the environment within agricultural systems. This means chemical fertilizers and other industrial farm inputs are not encouraged. However, one major issue confronting the ordinary Ghanaian farmer is the lack of access to quality seed. The agroecology movement says even where there is access to certified improved seeds, the systems are controlled by foreign companies and the Ghanaian farmers have to depend on these companies for seed. Wilberforce Latte is Deputy Executive Director of the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, SECOD.
We've done this work for quite some number of years, and one of the things that is coming out strongly is the indigenous seeds, or seeds in general, because we cannot be talking about agroecology when we don't have control of our own seeds. We are talking about seed sovereignty. There's a need for us to be in control of our seed system, but as it stands now, we are depending on others for our seeds. We want to kind of incentivize the seed system, so that we can really promote our indigenous seeds.
SECOD therefore organized a meeting of stakeholders in Bolgatanga to discuss how indigenous Ghanaian seeds can be improved upon and properly stored for farmers to use during cultivation. In attendance were members of the agroecology movement, farmers, district directors of agriculture, and civil society organizations. Some of the farmers shared the challenges they face when it comes to access to seed.
Our work starts with the seed. Without seed, you have nothing to do, you can't do anything. And as we are talking, we are not talking for seed per se, but we need seed that, which you can produce and you get good yields, and that will make you rich, because if you produce and you don't get the yields, you are not going to go anywhere. But when you produce and you are able to get good seeds, good yields, then it is there that you boast as a farmer. You'll be able to feed your family and then even friends, and you can also make money.
At the moment, it's an existing problem because we're beginning to lose our own seeds. And thank God, some of us who are in the agroecological zone, it's more possible for us to still get the seeds because we keep sharing seeds. A lot of them are really seeing that, of course, they are facing a lot of problems finding other seeds from other. So the practice of agroecology, it's really catching up with the people. So I hope the ministry is more flexible and hoping that they would create a desk for agroecological. Budgets are made in the area of agroecology, which would really be the way forward for us.
Bolgatanga Municipal Director of Agriculture, Lantana Osman, said the government already has in place policies that prioritize the issue of access to seed for farmers, albeit there is room for improvement of these policies.
Even the immediate planting for food and jobs, a lot of attention was given to seeds, and you realize that there was more than 50% subsidy on seeds, so that farmers can get access to good improved seeds that are short duration varieties. With this climate change, short rainfalls, the farmer can easily cultivate and get something from it. So policy, yes, and even in the region, we now currently have a modern seed unit that is supposed to be in charge of seed production. The agroecology concept is zeroing on the use of indigenous knowledge, and for now, with the current happenings, it is good for us to revisit what the farmers were doing before the introduction of these our chemicals, the introduction of hybrid seeds, the introduction of other technologies.
At the end of the meeting, the stakeholders decided they would organize a food and seed fair later this year to help promote Ghanaian indigenous seeds. For JoyNews, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
You're still watching JoyNews Desk. We'll break now for business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Total Energies Ghana PLC has begun a distribution exercise of about 3,000 crash helmets to commercial motorcycle riders across the country under the Helmet for Life initiative. The initiative aims to raise awareness amongst riders on the principles of road safety, particularly wearing of helmets. Here's more.
As part of its corporate social responsibility, Total Energies PLC launched the Helmet for Life initiative. About 100,000 crash helmets will be distributed across 3 continents: Africa, Asia, and America. The distribution exercise began at Dakoma in Accra, where about 200 motorcycle riders received free helmets. Here's Managing Director of Total Energies Marketing Ghana PLC, Olufemi Babajide.
This is part of our company's corporate social commitment to road safety in Ghana. It's not just in Ghana. We are actually doing this across 40 countries in the whole world, which is across about 3 continents, from Africa to Asia and also the Americas. In Ghana, yes, we'll be giving out about 3,200 helmets for life. And we are doing this across 6 locations. So we are starting in Accra, we move to Aflao, we move to Kumasi, and we end at Tamale.
Director General of the Motor, Traffic and Transport Department, COP Francis Coup, lauded the initiative and urged all motorcycle riders to adhere to road safety measures.
When the information about today's event came up to me, I was overwhelmed, because all along we have been looking for opportunities like this so we can get the riders together, educate them, give them the support that they need in order that they will ride safely on our roads. This campaign that had been dubbed Helmet for Life is a very good initiative. I will appeal to other individuals and benevolent organizations with safety as one of their core values to get on board and support in whatever way they think they can do so we can make the roads safe.
The University of Ghana Business School says it is poised to provide quality business education to support national development and economic growth. According to Dean of the school, Professor Justice Baole, the school will continue to develop strategic measures to bridge the gap between academia and industry. He spoke to Joy Business at a donation by its 1973-year group.
The donation of the security surveillance system by the 1973-year group is to support academic work of the school. Professor Baole called for more support from other alumni to reach out to the school to aid in supporting other projects.
We are very particularly happy about this because this is coming from an old year group, 1973 year group. They've been out of here for 50 years. All of them are pensioners. But they have found it extremely important to support us with this project. And for me, this speaks volumes that even people who are on pension and are struggling with their pension funds are still able to come through to help the university, to help the business school. For me, it tells me that a lot more of our younger alumni can do more to support the school, to be able to keep the numerous young people that we now have as a result of the burgeoning youth population in our admissions.
Some alumni explained their rationale behind the project.
Well, the school has done a lot for us. Most of us took our education here, graduated, and then went into business. Most of us are successful business people. Most of us are professors in universities. And so because of that, we decided to give back to the school.
Yeah, just as my colleague, my classmate has just said, we revere the school. we do think about this school quite a lot. And when our 50th anniversary came up, despite all the little bits and pieces that have been done already, we decided to do a formal presentation. So we've done that today. It's not the end of the road. It's for us now to sit and think about what else is needed.
The University of Ghana Business School says it is poised to providing quality education.
We unveil this in the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen.
All right, and that's it for this segment. The news continues after the break.
You're welcome back to JoyNews Desk, but this is where we wrap up for this edition. In our top stories, you had 2 persons sustain gunshot wounds during a chieftaincy dispute in Kokodie community in the Ashanti region. You also had Climate Focus series where the Ghana Meteorological Agency financially challenged in providing accurate location-specific weather forecasting. You also heard Gabon recording 8 coups in 3 years, with the latest taking place early this year. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Well, I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson, but we'll be crossing over to Ada, where the President Kokodie is expected to commission operations of Electrochem Ghana Limited. So please stay tuned.